The San Diego Padres and the Philadelphia Phillies are the story of this year's playoffs. The Padres were a losing team in 12 of their last 15 seasons, including 9 seasons in a row throughout the 2010s. They hadn't won a non-pandemic playoff game in over 15 years, and hadn't won a playoff series altogether since 1998. They proceeded to take out the 101-win New York Mets and the 111-win Los Angeles Dodgers on their way to the National League Championship Series. Their opponent, the Philadelphia Phillies, weren't so bad themselves. After winning the World Series in 2008, they regressed one playoff round back every year until finally missing the playoffs in a 500 season in 2012. Since then, they registered 7 losing seasons in 10 years, never amassed more than 82 wins, and were mired in a failed rebuild, multiple bad contracts, and a revolving door of managers and GMs. Even this year, they were panned across the league for their mid-season firing of Joe Girardi, something that Ken Rosenthal said would not fix the team. But here's the thing, sometimes baseball experts are wrong. I was definitely wrong about the Phillies and Padres. Despite only winning 87 games and nearly falling out of a playoff spot in the final week of the season, the Phillies went to St. Louis and took out a playoff juggernaut in the Cardinals. Then, they conquered a demon themselves, taking out their division rival in the 101-win Atlanta Braves, a team that had bullied them pretty much all season long. The final round of the National League features 2 bottom seeds, neither of whom won even 90 games this year. And a lot of fans have a lot of takes on this topic. Some are saying that the chaos is awesome and that the playoffs should be as unpredictable as possible. Baseball is a beautiful sport because any team can win on any given day. Many are claiming that the new playoff format is unfair to top-seeded teams and is ultimately bad for the game. Maybe there should be more of a reward for a great regular season performance, but how do we even go about that? Larger playoff sets? Well, MLB doesn't want to compete with football on Thanksgiving, so definitely not that. How about letting teams choose their own opponents? Maybe, but I'd imagine the Dodgers probably would have still picked the Padres, and maybe the Braves would have still picked the Phillies. If we look at all of this objectively, it's clear that there's nothing wrong with the playoff format. If anything, this may be the best format we've ever had in baseball. We also just happen to be having an especially crazy bracket in what's the first year of the new wildcard weekend format. Sorry if this upsets you, but ever since the introduction of the wildcard game in 2012, plenty of wildcard teams have defeated Titans and gone on miracle runs. Since the expansion of the playoffs to include that extra wildcard team per league in 2012, there have been 10 different wildcard teams to reach the championship series, excluding this year. That's 10 out of 106 total playoff teams that got the wildcard designation and still made it to the LCS. So this happened a smidge under 10% of the time heading into this year. Not a huge percent, but maybe more than what you were expecting. In 2012, the National League 5th seed St. Louis Cardinals won a controversial wildcard game in Atlanta and then went to elimination games in both the division series against the Nationals and championship series against the Dodgers, falling 1 win shy of becoming the first ever 5th seed to make a World Series. In 2015, the 5th-seeded Cubs and Astros both won their wildcard game but failed to reach the World Series. 2016 saw the underseeded Blue Jays walk off into the ALDS and sweep the top-seeded Rangers. The 2017 Yankees had plenty of magic, taking care of the Minnesota Twins at home in the wildcard game and completing an improbable comeback against Cleveland after falling down 2-0 in the ALDS. That comeback came on the heels of a blown 8-3 lead and a crushing walk-off loss in extras, and they took the Astros all the way to Game 7 of the ALCS in an unforgettable series, falling a win shy of the Fall Classic. Perhaps the most statistically unlikely Cinderella run for a wildcard team were the 2019 Nationals, who squeaked by the Brewers thanks to an untimely error, then beat the Dodgers in LA in 5 games to win their first division series ever, then walloped the Cardinals in a 4-game sweep in the NLCS before finally beating the Astros in 7 games in the World Series. The Nationals won all 4 of their World Series victories on the road, and they were the most unfavored World Series winner ever in terms of betting odds. Only twice in the past 10 years have 2 different wildcard teams reached the LCS in the same season. The most recent came in 2021, where the Dodgers and the Red Sox both won their wildcard game as the 4th seed and made it to the League Championship Series, both losing in 6 games. The far more fun example came in 2014. The National League 5th seed San Francisco Giants and the American League 4th seed Kansas City Royals both won the wildcard game, the division series, and the championship series, with the Royals not dropping a single game along the way. To this date, this is the only World Series to feature 2 wildcard teams, and that won't change this year either, and this is one of the best World Series that I can remember in recent history. Some of the best playoff stories in the past 10 years have all come from wildcard teams beating the odds and beating top seeds. The success of wildcard teams isn't exactly unprecedented, but I also believe it's a much bigger deal this year. Many of the teams we just discussed were talented teams that could have easily been division winners. The same can't really be said for the Padres and Phillies, who were so far behind in the division that they were designated as a wildcard team pretty much a month out out from the playoffs. But the playoffs are a crapshoot. Talent, personnel, coaching, and home field advantage are obviously all important factors, and they have given the top-seeded team a lot of advantage in the past. We have seen plenty of mediocre to decent teams scrape into the playoffs only to get blasted out of the first round by a much better team. But that's what I think is the difference this year. The Padres and the Phillies are not average teams. They're incredibly talented, and in my opinion, they have the most to prove out of any of the National League playoff teams this year, and that's coming from a Mets fan. Speaking of the Mets, let's talk about them and those other top-seeded teams that got knocked out early. Let's flip the coin and see how many times a 100-win team failed to win a playoff series in the same time frame as before, since 2012. There's only been 5 instances in the past decade of postseason baseball where a 100-win team failed to clear the division series. Interestingly enough, there was not a single 100-win team from 2012 through 2014, and only a dozen in the past 10 years. In 2015, the first-seed Cardinals won 100 games but lost in the division series to their division rival, the 5th-seeded Cubs, who won 97 games. During the regular season, St. Louis went 11-8 against Chicago, but it didn't end up mattering. 2017 saw the reigning American League champion Cleveland Indians win 102 games and go up 2-0 in the ALDS against the 2017 Yankees, who we just talked about. They lost 3 in a row to the 91-win team and failed to advance to the second round. That season, the Indians went 5-2 against the Bronx Bombers, but it didn't end up mattering. In 2019, the first-seeded Dodgers won 106 games, but unfortunately ran into a team of destiny in the 4th-seeded Nationals, who won just 93 games but eventually won the World Series. The 2021 season saw 3 different 100-win teams make it to the playoffs, but 2 of them failing to reach the championship series. The first were the American League's top seed in the Tampa Bay Rays, who won 100 games during the regular season and got to face 4th-seed Boston in the ALDS. The Rays folded in 4 games to the 92-win Red Sox, but during the regular season, they went 11-8 against Boston, but it didn't end up mattering. There was also the 107-win Giants, who barely outlasted the Dodgers to take home the #1 seed in the National League and relegated their rival to the wildcard game. Problem was, the 4th-seeded Dodgers took care of the Cardinals and got another crack at San Francisco, sending them home in a hard-fought 5-game win in the National League Division Series. Their season series was as close as it gets, 10-9 in favor of the Giants, so that's a bit of a different story. The point of all this is that this kind of thing has happened before, and especially recently. I don't think that takes away any of the shock value from the Padres and Phillies victories, especially since it happened to 3 teams in one playoff run, all in the same league. But there are definitely some parallels to be drawn here. The 2022 Braves went 11-8 against the Phillies this season, but lost to them in the NLDS. This is the same record and fate drawn by the 2015 Cardinals against the Cubs and the 2021 Rays against the Red Sox. The 2022 Mets, who won 101 games, had their fate in their hands, but ultimately lost their division, and like the 2021 Dodgers, falling into the wildcard spot proved too much of a gut punch to overcome. Is it unfortunate for the Braves and the Mets? Absolutely. You could argue that they were the most compelling rivalry from the 2022 season, a back-and-forth gauntlet of great games that finally ended with a climatic sweep in Atlanta for the Braves that helped them gain a 10-9 record in the head-to-head, which won them the NL East division. All of the anguish, the stress, the emotions that the fans and players endured culminated in 2 immediate playoff exits. Worse yet, it resulted in the division rival Phillies that both Atlanta and New York handled easily throughout the season, making it the farthest of the bunch. That's definitely unfortunate depending on what kind of fan you are, but none of it is unfair. It's a shocking outcome, but to say that this outcome is unprecedented would be pure hyperbole. Now, the San Diego Padres, on the other hand, that's an entirely different story to me. The Padres got dogged by the Dodgers all season long, to the tune of a 15-4 record in favor of Los Angeles. Their NLDS series did not even go 5 games before San Diego clinched a victory at home. This is something I would consider completely unprecedented, but once again, not unfair. The closest thing I could find since the turn of the century was the 2005 Cardinals going 11-5 against the Astros in the regular season, but ultimately losing that year's NLCS to Houston in 6 games. But this kind of thing just doesn't happen that much. Division rivals didn't meet in the playoffs all that much before the wildcard game came around, and when they did, their records against each other were usually 500 or something close to it, with the winning team usually winning the series. You can't deny the chaos of any of this, but to call the format unfair since the Padres triumphed is not unfair to anybody except the Padres. They earned this. They disposed of 2 100-win teams in convincing fashion, and no playoff format was helping them to do this. Also, what fun would it be if the top-seeded teams always won out and placed like they should? The best part about any bracket, sports-related or not, are the upsets, the underdogs, the triumphs, the unlikely stories that you don't believe can happen until they actually do. do. The new format is fun, and it allows this to happen even more. It's also proof that every team that got into the postseason this year deserved to be here. I don't love the NFL's new expansion to 14 teams.
Number 85 for running out of bounds on his own. What the fuck?
And I hate what's going on with the NBA and the play-in games. Seriously, 10 playoff teams per league? What are we doing? I think 12 teams making it to the playoffs out of 30 teams total is a nice sweet spot for MLB. I'm hoping they don't fall into the same path as their rival sports leagues, because I think baseball playoffs are the toughest to make and also the most impossible to predict. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was more of a rant style video more than a video essay, which is what I'm more accustomed to doing. So if you like this kind of video, leave a comment down below and maybe I'll make more. And now a word from today's sponsor, Geology. I don't know about you guys, but watching my team in the playoffs stressed me out. And when I get stressed out, I break out pretty bad. Luckily, I have a sponsor today in Geology, and they're a 13-time award-winning skincare company recognized in Men's Health, Esquire, and Ask Men. Listen, man, I gotta be on camera a lot, and it's not good when I'm showing up with zits on my face. But luckily, Geology Skincare can help you fight acne, reduce oiliness, prevent wrinkles, combat dark and puffiness under your eyes, and have smoother, hydrated skin altogether. They have their everyday face wash, vital morning face cream, nourishing eye cream, and repairing night cream to help you get to the top of your game. And it's really simple to get started. You can click the link in my description below, take a 30-second diagnostic quiz, and with a few clicks, tell them about your skin and your goals, and their team of dermatologists will design a regimen just for you that is shipped directly to your door. It's a simple and effective routine to start and stick to, and it's easy to use even if you've never had a skincare routine before. Click the link down below and use code JOHNBOY70 for 70% off your first purchase of a 30-day trial kit. You get award-winning, best-selling eye cream in a 5-piece trial set valued at $50 for just $15. I highly recommend it. Thanks for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys next time.